What's up, YouTube? Dan the Psycho Man breaking into the oldest house to nab the platinum and all of the DLC trophies for Control Ultimate Edition. I was a little slow and had some issues here and there, namely due to collectibles not spawning or being time-gated or something. But the game was mostly okay. So let's get into it. So, even with the side content, the game is pretty short. For some reason, I found it way less compelling than the Dark Picture Anthology games. We play as Jessie Faden, a young woman who has been searching for her brother ever since the Federal Bureau of Control basically kidnapped him. Apparently, as kids, they found a slide projector that could open portals to other worlds, and entities attached themselves to Jessie and her brother Dylan. After finding, finally, the FBC, Jessie suddenly becomes the director, basically the head of the whole thing, along with gaining some psychic powers and a semi-sentient gun, the service weapon. Time to clear house. The oldest house, that is. So, we get into the gameplay cycle of exploring the evil office complex in a gameplay loop of fighting enemies, finding new items, getting new abilities, and repeat. We eventually gain upgrades to the service weapon, letting it be a pistol, a shotgun, a machine pistol, grenade launcher, and, my personal favorite, the charge shot. Unfortunately, Jessie's melee pretty much sucks, so you're going to be heavily reliant on gunplay and Jessie's other powers. Yeah, as we progress, Jessie gains a simple telekinesis, letting her pick up and chuck objects to do a ton of damage, the ability to levitate, the ability to brainwash enemies, and a shield to block attacks. I do kinda wish the shield felt more useful early on, as it seems to break way too easily. But when you unlock the shield bash, it can be a cool weapon. There's also a shitty dodge and the ability to crouch, but the dodge takes up your psychic energy, and the crouch doesn't even let you enter cramped spaces. The gunplay gets stale pretty fast, and there is kinda poor enemy variety, along with a ton of cheap deaths and cheap attacks. Especially early on, the game almost seems to punish you for aiming, as firing without aiming seemed to be more accurate, let me hit more enemies at a time, and clear areas faster. And enemies are either piss easy or crazy annoying bullet sponges, with those camo bats being my fucking nemesis. It doesn't help that basic abilities need to be unlocked pretty deep into the skill tree, like the ability to throw back enemy projectiles. I don't know, the gameplay and the moves seem to be almost at odds with each other. Like, it tried to copy cover shooters, but gave no reliable cover, while copying Infamous with special abilities being the go-to, but never having enough juice or interesting enough abilities. The other aspect of the gameplay is exploring the Bureau, completing quests and securing, containing, and protecting objects of power and altered objects. These are supplemented by shorter logs talking about the history of the object or event, along with known security measures. Wait a minute. These are all just lamer versions of SCPs! Yeah, if it wasn't obvious, the story aspects mostly resemble the good old internet fad of the SCPs. Strange objects that shouldn't exist, and are all unique or crazy. The problem is that Control's objects leaned into the idea that any regular day object can become something horrific and Lovecraftian, while doing a terrible job of showing that, with most crazy stuff happening off-screen or is vaguely implied. Several objects get possessed by the former, a boss who isn't that hard. He's just annoying, as you will constantly fall through the stage even when there's no hole, which makes the fight more against his arena than against him. There's a mirror that makes us fight ourselves, but she's somehow fucking better than me, with no caps on her powers, making her the clearly superior version. There's also an annoying anchor fight that's more so annoying because enemies will spawn in weird places and nearly one-shot you. The boss of the mole that people want to eat because that's its anomalous effect, and let me say, that fight was super annoying because the ground becomes toxic and dodging just doesn't work sometimes. And a repeat of taking out one of the first bosses, who people say is the hardest boss in the base game, but honestly, Mirror Jesse was way harder. The game doesn't exactly have memorable characters either. They're all kinda bland and incompetent. A lot of them just disappear or randomly leave. The dialogue is also stilted in a weird way, with a lot of people talking at each other instead of to each other. It also feels like the game was meant to have dialogue trees, because there's a lot of pausing and interruptions, but there aren't choices until the dialogue itself no longer matters and you just want some background or lore. So we make our way through the oldest house, putting out fires and unlocking sections for us, battling the primary antagonist, the Hiss, a collective of infectious thought bent on world domination. And let me just say, I hate the in-game map. The map sucks ass. Areas don't show up. You constantly fall out of bounds. You can't toggle or change the layers of the map to see what actually connects. And the quest markers only show you the area. So instead of finding a needle in a haystack, you're finding a needle in a wheelbarrow of hay. Wait, is the map a goddamn SCP too? And that's why it sucks and is illegible? We learn the Bureau has Dylan here, and he was a candidate for director, much like Jesse. And the FBC was keeping tabs and grooming them both. However, Dylan has been taken over by the Hiss. So, we try to find the slide projector and shut it off, but we fail when we accidentally destroy the guiding voice that's inside of Jesse's head, and the game ends. The credits roll, and now it's time for the cleanup. Psych! Yeah, the game fakes us out with a fake credits sequence, leading us into the final section of the main story. So, we can finally find the projector and shut it down, cutting off the hiss and putting Dylan into a coma. Cleanup time. And now is also a good time to do the 2 DLCs. First up is the Foundation, where we chase after the head of security. We gain 2 new abilities that have no uses outside of this DLC. All they do is let us break crystals and form some platforms that only show up here. The DLC introduces some new enemies, but they're nothing exciting. There is a stupidly long quest to get some cat ears, and a few annoying secrets to find. We also need to find all of the collectibles, which is also annoying. I also got briefly soft-locked in the Disco Tunnel side quest, where I couldn't leave, and the tunnel just never ended. No enemies spawned, it just broke. But because it was my first time doing it, I didn't know if I was missing something, or if it actually broke. The final boss of this DLC is the corrupted head of security, who is annoying due to her mob spawns. But we can at least have a ranger help us out. The trick here is to make the boss fall down from the breakable platforms, as this does a shitload of damage. With that and the cleanup done, we can move on. And it was in this DLC that I got the platinum for the base game. On to the final part, the second DLC that focuses more on tying into the larger world of Alan Wake. In the base game, we can find records talking about all the strange stuff that happened in Alan Wake 1. And this DLC dives fully into tying the world together. Our goal is to hunt down the crazy psych doctor from Alan Wake, Dr. Hartman. His form is pretty scary as a silhouette, but once you actually see him, the scariness goes way down. We also get a new weapon, a version that launches out explosives that we can detonate. But this weapon sucks because the explosions damage us too. So many deaths were caused by simply being too close here. Though it is at least funny that we can put bombs on an object and launch it for major damage. But the most annoying miscellaneous trophies are here, like taking out 25 of the rare flying rangers, beating a section in the arcade which throws some of the hardest enemies at you in a group in waves, and taking out 4 instances of haunted vending machines. The area is pretty linear too. You chase Hartman to corner him, doing puzzles to turn the lights on. And then his boss fight actually has 2 phases, with a lot of cheapness in phase 2. And of course, the DLC ends with a teaser for Alan Wake 2. Man, this game wasn't that good. The DLCs crashed on me several times. There were many glitches, especially in boss fights. The gameplay is at odds with itself, and the lore is dumped in the most annoying way possible, where you have to stop playing to read or listen to whatever you found, as opposed to letting it play out through gameplay. The audio is terrible, and subtitles should be mandatory, particularly due to the garbles of the board that Jesse can understand, but no one else can. The enemy variety is just bad, and the game mechanics are constantly at odds with each other. At least it's funny and neat that a lot of the environments are destructible and explode during combat or just goofing off. But the story is lame, the objects are lame, and the gameplay is kinda lame. At least the direct sequel trailer shows Dylan having better powers and weapons with a focus on melee, at least going by the reveal. Honestly, reading the SCP stories is way more entertaining. If this game had its same level of production value, but it was based directly on the actual SCP stories and items, along with tying it into Alan Wake, it would have been way better. The DLCs were more of a slog and had some of the most tedious trophies to get. So the Platinum is like a 3 out of 10 due to no in-game guide, no easy map, and no easy tracker by areas for collectibles. As for the overall rating, the game is a 50 out of 100 on the patented Dan the Ranking Man scale. Yeah, the game had potential, but the mundane and generic nature hurt it way more than it helped. So, stay tuned for more, like and hype the video, comment down below which SCP is your favorite. Mine is a tie between SCP-009, the Red Ice, and SCP-1079, Dr. Wondertainment's Bubble Bath Bonbons. And remember, only losers make the in-game map this useless.